people, welcome to SewAddicts. Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to transform a large shirt into something a little bit more fun and feminine and cute, I guess. I do say that word a lot, don't I? Anyway, I'm going to be showing you guys how to transform something just a little large. If you guys have boyfriends or husbands and just they don't wear their shirts anymore because they probably have like armpit stains or food stains or whatever, don't throw those shirts away. You could definitely just transform them into something a little bit more cute for yourself, you know. So before we actually get into this tutorial though, I do want to take this moment to actually thank all my subscribers as of this moment right now. Thank you so much for putting that red thingy over there, that red subscribe button. Thank you so much for pushing that thing down and actually subscribing to all my awesome videos. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And for all you guys that have actually been commenting and giving my videos thumbs up, like, well, you guys are freaking awesome. Yeah. And to show how much I appreciate you guys, I'm going to be doing something just for you. Yes, you staring at me right now. I'm going to be doing something for you in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. So you guys keep an eye out for the next couple of weeks. If you watch all my videos, I'm going to be doing something especially for you. So make sure to stay tuned and watch and watch and watch and watch till you can't watch anymore. So to get right into the tutorial today, obviously you need a large shirt so you can hack that thing up to create something beautiful for you. And if you don't have any way to get a large shirt, you could also go down to the thrift store or anywhere to just get one of those cheap shirts. It really doesn't have to be fancy, so you could just cut that thing up to create something nice. And if you haven't already, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I hope you love what you see so far, and if you do not hesitate to hit down that subscribe button. And if you've already subscribed, I love you so much. So let's just get started with our tutorial. To get started, we need 3 measurements. First, we're going to measure around our chest. So you want to measure around your chest above your bust. You also want to make sure that this measurement is not snug at all. Then we're going to measure our waist. So you want to measure right at your belly button, as this is your natural waist. So now we're measuring around the belly button, and you also want to make sure that this measurement is not snug at all. Now we're also going to measure from our bust top point right there at our chest all the way to our belly button. Make sure to keep track of these 3 measurements, as that's what we're going to use for our shirt. So now we have our shirt, and you want to make sure to button everything down all the way to the bottom. So then we're going to draw a straight line across the chest of our shirt from the bottom of this armhole to the other side. So if you guys notice, I have about 1.25 inches seam allowance from my chest line all the way to that button, and this is going to be our seam allowance for our top. So I'm just measuring that 1.25 inches down from my line on both sides of my shirt. And then from that 1.25 inch line, I'm measuring the chest point we measured before to our belly button. So mine was 10 inches, so I'm measuring from that 1.25 inch line 10 inches to the bottom of my shirt. So you want to make sure to measure this across your shirt. Then we're going to join all our marks together. So after this, I just added a 1/2 inch seam allowance at the bottom, because you do need your seam allowance. And as you guys can see, the button was kind of in the way, so you could definitely just take your button off if it's in the way, just like mine was. And from here on, we are just gonna cut out our fabric piece right now on all the straight lines. And don't forget to also cut in at your seam allowance as well. So now that I've had this all cut out, as you guys still know, it is a little bigger than my actual size. So I just went ahead and measured what my chest size was, which was 24.5, and I also measured my waist, which was 24. Now you want to get that down to what your actual chest size is. So my actual measurement was about 14 inches less than the chest measurement of my shirt. So I ended up having to take off 7 inches on both sides. So I measured 3.5 on one side and 3.5 on the other side to get rid of the 7 inches from my chest. You also want to do the same thing for your waist as well. I measured 4.5 and 4.5 on both sides for a total size of 18 inches. And when you're done, you just want to square out all your lines, join them together, and we're going to proceed to sew this on the sewing machine. So I actually went ahead and sewed this on the sewing machine, and you just want to cut down your seam allowance to about a 1/2 inch total on both sides. And when you're done, you could just flip that around, and the next thing we're going to do is basically just reattach our bottom. But now we're actually gonna gather this bottom, so you want to run a basting stitch, about a 5 length stitch across your shirt. So I ran that stitch across, as you guys can see, and it looks something like this. And we're just gonna get one thread out of our loop right there, and this is what we're gonna do to create the gathers. So as you guys can see, I'm basically just pulling my fabric together to create a nice bunch. And I was able to do this according to my waist length. So again, I grabbed my new top, and you want to make sure that you're actually putting this part on your waist and not the chest, because I mean they kind of look the same even though one is smaller. So you want to make sure to actually put this on your chest, and you want to also make sure that the button is also facing the right side, and we're going to pin this across our bottom. And you also want to make sure that the side seams for this gathered part is also meeting the side seams of your new top. So again, you could just place a couple of pins on this, and we're just going to run this on the sewing machine. So now we're on the sewing machine, guys, and I'm just gonna sew this at about a 1/2 inch. And in the process, you just want to guide your gathers, making sure they're laying nice and neat and you're evenly distributed all over your waist. So now that we're done with that, as you guys can see, everything looks nice and neat at a 1/2 inch all around. And the buttons and the buttonhole areas are all lined up really nicely as well. So now we're actually going to be finishing up our top edge, and just like before, my seam allowance was about 1.25 inches. So I'm just going to take off my button right here just so I could sew this down really nicely, and we could just attach the button later on. So now I'm actually folding 1/4 inch and a little less than 1 inch for my top fold. And this is more just like a double fold thing, and we're actually going to be top stitching this fold on our sewing machine, as you guys can see. And you could just use your guide right here on your sewing machine if you have one, or you could put some pins down there just to make sure that you're sewing the right amount of inches all around your chest. So when you sew it down, it should look something like this, very nice and neat across your chest. So now everything is looking pretty good so far, as you guys can see. And the next thing you want to do is grab your sleeve. So this is what we're going to use to make our straps. So we're just going to detach our sleeve from the actual body. And we're going to also cut away the cuff and divide the sleeve open. So make sure to cut your sleeve on that seam allowance right there open. So now we have this nice fabric, and we're also going to draw a nice straight line on the sleeve fabric. So now we're actually going to measure 1.5 inches out from the line we just created, and this is going to be the size of our strap. We're actually going to fold this twice and sew this on the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. So now you want to create this 1.5 inch strap, and you're basically going to cut that out of this fabric, and you want to make sure to also repeat this process twice as well. So now that we have our straps, I'm going to be showing you guys how to sew this on the sewing machine. So the end goal is to have a strap at least about a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to be folding mine about 1/4 on both sides and then folding it to get that 1/2 inch. So if you want, you can also just put a pin there to make sure that you have that right measurement. So again, we're folding it 1/4 on both sides and then folding it a 1/2 inch again. And we're just going to top stitch right there at that edge on the sewing machine to give a nice 1/2 inch strap. So now we're pretty much ready to start the process of attaching our straps. And the first thing we're gonna do is basically fold our front part in half. So you wanna put the front to your side seams, and we're gonna mark that half point. So this is where our strap is going to go to for the front. Make sure to do the same thing for the other side of the front as well. So then we're also going to move on to the back. So to find out where we're going to put the straps at the back, you first want to find out the half point of your back. So I'm attaching both side seams together, and I'm just marking the half point for my back. And then I'm actually going to match the side seams and that half point to get where I'm going to put my strap. So I'm just marking that, as you guys can see, and you want to do the same thing for the other side as well. So after we've made these marks, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points where our strap is going to go in the front and the back. So now I'm basically just pinning down my strap in the front, where we're going to be top stitching this on the sewing machine, and you basically want to pass this all the way to the back as well. To find out how long you want your strap to be, you could probably put this on your form or have somebody kind of measure this for you. I measured mine, and mine came out to be about 14 inches. And if yours is actually longer at the end of the day, you could always go back and shorten it, but you don't want to make these too short. So just keep that in mind when you're sewing down your straps. So now I actually went ahead and sewed this down on the sewing machine, and as you guys can see, I attached it at the bottom and also attached it at the top right there to keep it nice and sturdy. So remember those buttons we took off at the beginning? So now we're actually going to be attaching them back to their original place. So you just want to grab a thread and needle and just attach that nice and neatly and make it sturdy at the top of our chest. So also when you're done with that, you also want to attach the button at the waist as well. You don't want to forget that. So make sure when you're attaching the button that everything is laying nice and neatly, and they're also laying nice across the seams at the chest as well. So now we're actually going to be creating the buttonholes for our buttons. So my buttonhole, I'm just using a razor. Now you want to be really careful with this. So make sure to use a razor or a pair of scissors if you want. And you just want to create a nice slash down the middle right there for your button. So I created a slash for my top button. The other buttons already have a hole, and I'm going to create a hole for my waist button as well. So again, I'm just marking where my buttonhole is going to go with my chalk, and you want to make sure to also push down that seam allowance you have at the waist. And again, I'm just taking my razor and marking that buttonhole right there, making sure it's not too wide or not too small. And that's where my waist button is going to go. So as you guys notice, I do have a couple of buttons that came with the shirt as well. So I also decided to create another buttonhole for that extra button as well. So if you do have extra buttons, don't hesitate to create another buttonhole for yourself at the bottom of your shirt. So at this point, you're pretty much done with the process and you're ready to rock your top. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of SewAddicts again this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And hey, all those shirts that your boyfriend, your husband, your cousin, your brother, all those male people, males in your life that just have shirts that are like old, you could definitely transform them into something so much prettier and gorgeous for yourself. Again, if you do use my tutorial, or if you transform those shirts into anything, make sure to tag me in those awesome photos on Instagram at DamiaDenikeX so I can see all your awesome and lovely photos. And if you love this transformation or love this video, make sure to also give this video a big thumbs up. And hey, check out all my other videos. Last week, you know what I did? I actually made a bucket bag. So the link is down below for everything I used in this video and my last video as well. So make sure to check that out. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Make sure to hit down that red button. Hit down that red button so you can see more awesome videos from me. And I hope to catch you awesome SewAddicts next week. Bye.